This is VSiN PrimeTime Schedule Release Special. Now, here's your hosts, Matt Brown and Mike Somich.
Hour number 2 of the special edition here as the NFL schedules get released. It is Primetime with Matt Brown and Mike Somich. And Mike, get your Twitter machines ready out there. Guys, has already been firing off left and right out there, but they are about to get really crazy with everyone posting what's going on with their schedules. Hopefully we get some creative stuff, Mike, because, I mean, so say you were a team that you're like the Giants, for example, and we're going to talk the NFC East here in just a second. The Giants schedule's been out for hours and hours now. Like they leaked it. The whole schedule's been out. So just posting a graphic with your schedule on it, that's not going to do it for me, right? Like you're going to need to do something to jazz that up a little bit.
Yeah, we got to get new and creative ideas too. The Tennessee Titans a couple years ago went out to Broadway and asked fans what this logo was, and that was funny the first time. The second time, it wasn't as good. We got to get creative now. Need new things here. I like that the Buffalo Bills released their schedule based on cartoon characters from the 1990s of who they're going to play. I thought that was at least a little bit interesting, but I do love me some schedule release tweets. We just got to make sure we're creative with them. We got to keep changing it up here because the NFL Twitter department's usually pretty good, Matt. So I'm expecting big things today.
I look at it like, we just had the NBA lottery. They're now talking about an NFL lottery, which is ridiculous, but they should not do that at all. But, fake a lottery, right? Where like the ping pong ball comes out and then that's your schedule, like fake a lottery, and that'd be cool. And they had all the logos on it and stuff like that. That's free of charge, by the way, to any of you teams out there. You can use it. You don't have to do anything for them. Maybe a suite at a home game or something like that for if you end up using the.
I want the food tailgate release, right? Buffalo Bills Mafia. Why don't you have like a fish fry when the Dolphins are in town? You can come up with all these different creative ideas around the food too. Love it.
Okay, so let's start with the NFC East here. The Philadelphia Eagles, your defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. If you go over, and like I said, we're going to give people shout-outs all night tonight because there's a lot of hard work going on out there breaking down all of this stuff. The guys over at Sharp Football do go in and rate the strength of schedules based off of future win totals as opposed to what happened the season prior. With that Philadelphia Eagles schedule, as you can imagine, you're going to get a tough go at it after you won it all. And so 1, 2, 3, the fourth hardest schedule, it looks like, Mike, here for this Philadelphia Eagles team. I get it. I understand why it's tough. That being said, you look here, and I mean, week 1, Cowboys, you're feeling pretty great, I guess, about that. That being said, it is, on a neutral site, but boy, at Chiefs, Rams, who you and I think are going to be much better this week. Not that the Bucs are going to be world beaters, but his best team in that division. I like the Broncos a pretty good amount. 2, 3, 4, 5. Not a fun little stretch there for the Eagles team until they get that landing spot there with the Giants in week number 6. Could be interesting for this Philadelphia Eagles team. Maybe we're circling, like we said, week number 5 in the calendar. Worst case scenario, they come out of this 2 and 3 or something like that. I mean, I feel much better about backing them later on in the season.
Yeah, this is an interesting schedule. We knew it was going to be tough. Thank God that both the Cowboys and the Giants are in their division, because if they weren't, this would be a wildly difficult schedule. They get 4 games against those two teams, which is a nice to have those padded spots inside your schedule. I agree with you. That stretch from 2 to 5 is awfully tough. You got to remember the Chiefs are coming back from Brazil, so that at least is a little bit of a situation where you're getting some extra rest. You do have the mid-season bye, week 9, one of the more coveted byes, so that you do have it smack in the middle. You're able to get a little healthy before the run. I like that stretch from week 12 to week 15 for them. That's 4 games that are very winnable when you're at the Cowboys versus the Bears. The Chargers could be tough on Monday Night Football, but then you've got the Raiders. But when you look through the schedule, Matt, how does this season not come down to those last 3 games here for the Eagles? I mean, that's going to be the key part of their season. They're at the Commanders, who are expected to be the second best team in their division. And then they are at the Bills, and then they close at home against the Commanders. That final 3-game stretch is going to be pivotal for the Eagles' chances to be able to secure a bye and win the division.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting deal, I guess, too, if we're really trying to kind of break down when you get some of these teams. Like you mentioned the end of schedule. I guess if you are going to get the Chiefs on the road, it's probably best to get them early. We saw last year this offense took a little bit of time to get going for this Chiefs team. Don't know if that's not going to be the case again this year with some of the new parts that have to kind of be worked into the system. So maybe you're catching the Chiefs on the road at basically the best time that you could do that. So maybe this isn't as bad as it would be if we were looking and say that stretch was week, let's call it 7-10 or something like that,
Yeah, I like playing the Chiefs in week 2. I like playing the Bills in week 17. If you're going to have to go to Buffalo in a cold weather game, that game might not matter for Buffalo. We'll get to their schedule eventually, but that division's they're going to run away with it this year based on what they have on their schedule and the rest of that division. So that might not be a very motivated Bills team come week 17 as well. So I think that the out-of-conference, really tough games for them do at least fall at advantageous times in the schedule.
It is a hefty win total there, though, Mike. It's an 11.5 win total there for this Philadelphia Eagles team. And this is not saying that this team is going to be bad by any stretch. I think it's still going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. But I'd be hard-pressed to take the over on to get them to 12. It's almost like they greatly over, like they just are the absolute best team. They're the nuts when it comes to everything. And maybe you just bet an alt over or something, but they're either going to underperform or overperform. I'm not betting the 12 here. That's for sure.
I would rather bet them to have the best record in the NFC than bet the over 11.5. Right, because I do think that you're going to have competitive divisions in the NFC North. I think you're going to have a competitive NFC West. I don't think the NFC South is going to produce your highest win total, and that leaves the NFC East, where if Washington or Philadelphia stumbles, which one is it? Well, it's Washington in my mind, which means that the Eagles have a legit shot to be able to run the table in the division. And if they do that, all of a sudden they're in play for that best record in the NFC, and you're getting a much better price than over the win total.
Let's get to the Dallas Cowboys, team that I'm going to try to fade every which way but loose. I don't think that this is, Dak to me was always obviously above average, Mike, but he was certainly not one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Now coming back off of a major injury with everything that's going on with them, this schedule doesn't look all that great for them either. You're looking at a team here that does have still one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. Eagles, Giants, Bears, Packers, Jets, Panthers to start the season. Is this not the most prime candidate fade team on the face of the planet after week number 6? I mean, they lose to the Eagles, right? Sure, they can beat the Giants. They probably can beat the Jets. They probably can beat the Panthers, and maybe you trip and fall, do something early on in the season against the Packers or something. Then it goes Commanders, Broncos. You're getting the Cardinals, who I know you like a little bit better this year as well. Eagles, Chiefs on Thanksgiving, at the Lions, Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, all to close things out. Yeah, you get the soft spot with the Giants at the end of the season. Can we not get an elevated win total on this team after week number 6 and come in and just pound the under like it's nobody's business?
Oh, I'm hoping and praying that they are 5-1 and I can go to miss the playoffs. I mean, that would be just the dream scenario here, because I do think that the Cardinals are going to be frisky. That's not going to be an easy game on the road. If you're picking a time to play the Vikings, you want to play them early in the season, not late in the season where the Cowboys have to face them, because you assume that J.J. McCarthy's figured some things out by then. This is just a very, very difficult schedule post week 7. So if we can somehow get the Cowboys at 5-1 or 4-2 through those first 6 weeks, it is a great opportunity to play against them for the remainder of the season, either win total or to miss the playoffs. That is your first calendar reminder, guys. Week 6 for the Cowboys. Check what that record is and see if that's not a team that you can bet against. We talked about the Commanders. They are tied with the Chiefs for the most standalone games over the course of the season. They're going to highlight this team, and I guess rightfully so, Mike. I mean, you and I like what they did in the offseason, liked what they did in the draft. Year number 2 with Jaden Daniels, and looks every bit the part as far as playing the quarterback position. So, I mean, I understand it. I get it. I understand why they're doing this and highlighting this team. And if you kind of look at the schedule, there's not a stretch here where I think that you're hating this team all of that much with the way that things kind of set up for them. I don't know if there's an in-season look for us. They opened at the Giants. Let's call that a win. You're at the Packers, maybe. There, your Raiders, Falcons, at the Chargers, Bears, at the Cowboys, Chiefs, Seahawks. We don't really know what they're going to look like. Lions, but then the Dolphins in Spain. That could be a super wonky game. Then you go and you see the Vikings, Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles. So, yeah, I mean, you brought out that scheduling quirk there where you get the Eagles twice in the final 3 weeks, but Cowboys sandwiched in between. It's kind of an up-and-down schedule here for the Commanders. Like, it's very winnable games, coin toss games, very winnable games, coin toss games, all up and down the schedule. Yeah, nothing really jumps out to me with the Commanders' schedule. I mean, the 9.5 sitting there with the win total, it's a team that won a lot of one-possession games last year, Matt, that was just running on the right side of variance. So it's hard for me to get really excited. But we do get second year of Jaden Daniels. I think that should help improve this offense. I do like some of the moves they made in the offseason as well. But I think this is a team that's lined pretty well on the win total, and that has, as like you said, a pretty flat schedule. There is not that set of 5 games where you're like, well, they're definitely going 5-0 or 0-5 in this specific set. So the Commanders are just going to be one of those teams you kind of pay attention to and see what you like during the season, but a hard team to really get involved with from a calendar invite perspective.
Welcome to the NFL, Jackson Dart. You get the hardest schedule in the NFL with the Giants, and so that is just going to it's just going to. We'll talk a little bit back about that on the other side here. But yeah, it is a brutal schedule for the New York Football Giants. And as a rookie quarterback, we know that cannot bode well a lot of the time out there, Mike. So we got these billion-dollar sports books, and of course, there are professional bettors that are getting in and getting these lines and moving things. So you might need some help along the way. Sharp Plays might be who you were looking for. They got a cutting-edge AI system going on over there, as well as some trusted insiders that can help you get a little bit of an edge as you are betting these games. You get free betting reports, real-time alerts, and market-moving insights delivered to you either email or on X as well. They got a documented track record heading back to 2011. So check out everything over at sharpplays.com. So, Mike, to put a bow on this, I have already in here my first calendar note, which is Cowboys, week number 6, go in. Did they run on the right side of variance? And if they did, can we fade the hell out of them? There we go. There's our first calendar notice.
I love it, Matt. 10-12 already in the calendar. Let's see what happens here, early season Cowboys.
We'll talk some New York Football Giants and head to the NFC North when we come back.
You're tuned in to VSiN PrimeTime, schedule release special, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is a schedule release special, VSiN PrimeTime. Matt Brown, Mike Somich. Schedules are getting released. Lines are getting posted. They are fast and furious at all the books out there. So if you are trying to jump in on something that you think is just the absolute lock, well, you got to get in on it now. Those lines, again, every one of these games, Johnny was not lying. We had Johnny Velo earlier. They are all there on DraftKings right now. They are firing these things off.
Yeah, pretty impressive. I mean, you obviously know some of the games coming into it, and he makes a very good point. You can't release numbers based off of leaks, because what if someone gets one game wrong? All of a sudden, your entire slate is messed up there. But it is phenomenal that we're now seeing a full 17 weeks worth of lines this early in the summer if you want to get out and get betting some of these movements. I do think there are certain teams that I have more or less confidence in as we get deeper into the season that I'm going to look to try and fade when we look at week 16, week 15 lines, because I think that there is a high likelihood that's a much worse football team by that point in the season than what we're seeing right out of the gate.
Guys, we are at the half. The Knicks 59, the Celtics 59. If you go over to DraftKings Sportsbook, it is a 2.5-point live line on the Celtics, actually, here as favorites. Plus 114 on the Knicks on the money line if you think they win it outright. 219.5 is our total here in the first half. Karl Anthony Towns, 2 of 4. He's got 8 points. Jalen Brunson, 6 of 13. He has 13. Josh Hart, 4 of 7. He has 12. Down for the Celtics, the Derek White game, 19 points at half for him, 6 of 10 and 5 of 9 from downtown. Jaylen Brown with 17 of his own. He is 7 of 11 from the floor and 3 of 3 from downtown. So again, tied at 59, 2.5 is your live line if you want to get involved over there on that one. Mike, I don't want to skip over the New York Football Giants. We do need to talk about the New York Football Giants. It just is a bummer whenever you look at the schedule. It is absolutely brutal for them. 2 road games to start things out, and then when you get a home game, it's against the Chiefs. What are you going to do? At the Commanders, at the Cowboys. You're starting 0-2 in the division. Then you're heading, then you get the Chiefs. Then you get the Chargers. Oh, my. Maybe you can muster a win when you head to New Orleans and play the Saints, because they don't know what they're doing either with that team. But then Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, Niners, at Bears, Packers, at Lions, at Patriots before the Week 14 bye. This win total's at 5.5, Mike. I am betting the under on this win total on the next break. They are not getting to 6 wins this season.
This is as brutal as it can be, especially for an organization that wanted to try and get Jackson Dart involved early. When do you put Jackson Dart in, Matt? Do you wait till the bye in week 14? Are you going to roll with Russell Wilson that long? Like, it is ridiculous when you look at this schedule. You mentioned the one winnable game that is in the early part of the season, that week 5 game at the Saints. I went on DraftKings during the break. I was looking to see if you could find a team to our last winless team alive. That market is not up yet. The Giants definitely should be a candidate there, because if they lose week 5, they could be 13-0 going into or 0-13 going into the bye if things go really bad. This is just.
I don't want to be unfair, Mike, but seriously, like, point me out 6 wins on the schedule. I mean, it's at 5.5 right now. Like, point me out 6 wins on the schedule.
I mean, even like at Raiders. It's like, well, you're playing the Raiders. Yeah, but that's not even a win. At Saints, you're not even at home against the Saints. When you look at the home games, and you've got the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Eagles, the 49ers, the Packers, the Commanders, the Vikings, and the Cowboys, they might go winless at home. And if you have a 5.5 win total and you don't win a game at home, good luck trying to get to it with all road wins.
Well, and look at this. Like you mentioned, at the Raiders, I mean, that's out in week 17. So by then, for sure, Jackson Dart's playing. So, like, you're getting a rookie quarterback on the road. It's just, I mean, there's not 6 wins on this schedule. Like, this is a bet for me, under 5.5, absolutely, with the way this thing broke out. I mean, they don't get a break. Like, there's no break at all.
I never root for anyone to lose their job, but how do you not have a Brian Daboll first coach fired ticket?
Yeah.
Like, he's already on the hot seat, and this schedule did him absolutely no favors.
All right, let's head to the NFC North. The Chicago Bears, a team in which you and I are pretty big fans of what they did in the offseason. Look, they knew what the problems were. They went in and addressed those problems, starting with the coach. But then they went in, got an offensive line. They did all kinds of things like that. I like what the Bears did, a team that I had more money fading last year than I've had on a team in quite some time. And, Mike, I might look to back them in a couple of different spots here, because there are some interesting quirks here in this schedule, because Vikings, winnable game for sure. At the Lions, let's call that a loss. Cowboys, Raiders, you don't like to see that early season bye, but then you are coming off bye to a difficult game at the Commanders, so at least you have an extra week to prepare for that game. Then it's Saints. Then you got a couple of toughies there in Ravens and Bengals, but then Giants, you got the Vikings again. The Steelers, I think, are going to be way down. Browns, you get in week 15. You get the 49ers, who I'm not in love with. I think there's 9 wins on this schedule. I think they can get to 9 wins.
Yeah, conversely to what we talked about with the home games for the Giants, you look at the home games for the Bears here, and it's Vikings. Like you said, first game of the year, I think that's when you want to catch the Vikings. That's very winnable. Versus the Cowboys, that's winnable. Versus the Saints, that should be a win. Versus the Giants, that should be a win. Versus the Steelers, that's winnable. Versus the Browns, that's very winnable. And then you end with Packers and Lions. Like, your two toughest road game or home games are divisional opponents late in the season when it's going to be snowing, and you get the Lions outdoors in the snow.
Exactly. So it's like
this is a great schedule for the Bears.
I was going to say, like, maybe you steal a couple of road wins along the way, but this home schedule in which you should play better at home and have an advantage at home. Not only that, you're going to be favorites in most of these games. Like, you're going to be you're going to be favored against the Cowboys. You're going to be favored against the Saints. You're going to be favored against the Giants, the Steelers, the Browns. I mean, like, they're going to be favorites in all these home games.
They will, and I actually kind of like the early bye for the Bears. If I had to pick early or late, I would take early with a rookie head coach. You give him 4 weeks out there with live bullets, and then you're like, okay, let's go back. Let's hit the film room. Let's figure out what we need to adjust for the bulk of our schedules. I think this is a Bears team where, yeah, I mean, last year, both of us were alt-unders. Give me the over 8.5 on the Bears this year.
Let's look at this Lions team that is, according to the strength of schedule here, the 3rd toughest schedule in the league. This is, of course, based off of projected wins. These teams could overperform or underperform or whatever it is. But, I mean, that's the best way that we can kind of look at what they're going to get, Mike, as we head into this. And with Detroit, as we talked about a little bit earlier, they're going to be at the Packers in week number 1. Bears, Ravens. This is a tough 3-game opening stretch for this Detroit Lions team. But then you get the Browns. That said, Mike, it's not out of the realm of possibility the Lions are looking at 1-3, and which leads me to a point where I don't want to back an over on them preseason. I think you're at least a coin flip of getting a better number after the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the first 6 weeks really are tough. You're playing at Packers, at Ravens, at Bengals, at Chiefs in the first 6 weeks. That is a very difficult schedule right out of the gate. It gets a lot easier later. You close with Giants versus the Packers versus the Cowboys, at the Rams versus the Steelers, at the Vikings, at the Bears. So at least you have some winnable games there. Just the one outdoor game that you have to highlight, that's at the Bears, week number 18. The Rams are in LA, no problem. Vikings, an indoor stadium. So you don't have golf going outside late in the season on this schedule. You do have the Commanders, the Eagles, week 10, 11. But that's like early November, mid-November. So you may avoid the weather spot there. This is all about this early season schedule for the Pack or for the Lions and what they're able to do on the road. And it's a concern for me that you have to go through this early season schedule with a new OC and a new DC, because that often can cause trouble, especially on those road games.
Yeah, Mike, I just made my second calendar reminder. And guys, I guess I'll probably post these on Twitter when things are all said and done. But Lions week 6 as well, because you could be looking. It is not out of the realm of possibility you're looking at a 2-4 Lions team through 6 weeks. And if that's the case, it does lighten up a ton after that, like you said. And so this seems like a really, really good time to evaluate what they are at after week 6 and maybe get in on a big-time depressed number from this 10.5 that we're getting right now.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see what the defense looks like, if they have any pass rush outside of Hutchinson, who's coming back here, and what he looks like early in the season as well, coming off that major injury. If they lose to the Bears at home in week 2, this could be a 1-5 Lions team. I mean, that's a tough start to the season after having 15 wins the previous year. So again, week 6, another calendar invite, like you said, Matt. Checking on the Lions win total, checking on the will make the playoffs price, see if you can find any value inside those markets if they do start off the season slowly.
Yeah, because like I said before, the road games are out of the way in the first 6 weeks as well, right? So you're going to get you're going to get a lot more home games there over that stretch as well. Guys, playoffs are hot and heavy, so ProfitX is where you want to go and see if you can find some better numbers over there. Peer-to-peer sports betting exchange available in over 40 states out there. So you're betting against guys like me and Mike and not against the house. So go in, see what you can find. Maybe you can even find some better numbers by 10 to 20% out there. You can even request your own odds if you were into that kind of thing. Download ProfitX. Use promo code VSiN. Earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. Again, ProfitX, peer-to-peer sports betting exchange. Code is VSiN, and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. We got to the Bears. We got to the Lions. We still got to talk the Packers. We still got to talk the Vikings. We might get to the Rams next segment. We talk too much, Mike, is what it comes down to about all of these teams. But, man, this is super, super interesting, and we're going to have even more calendar invites and even more bets to go in the account. I promise you that before we're all said and done here on VSiN PrimeTime.
You're tuned in to VSiN PrimeTime, schedule release special, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is a VSiN PrimeTime schedule release special. Matt Brown and Mike Somich running through each and every one of these schedules, see if there's anything we can get in the account or anything we can get into the account. I did, in fact, bet the Giants under 5.5. That is in the account. That is in the account at every book that would let me bet it here in Las Vegas. So there we go. That one is in there. We've got a couple of calendar invites as well. We'll remind you about those throughout the course of the evening. RDW tweets in, who does have a Dallas Cowboys helmet as his Twitter handle icon thing there, is also says that Dallas, for whatever reason, has 8 standalone games as well. So we're going to highlight the Cowboys.
He is correct.
Yes, in 8 standalones.
Yeah, so we got 8 standalone with the Cowboys. The league betting that Jerry Jones's boys, they're going to be a little bit better than last year. They need a healthy Dak because there are 4 of those games after the bye as well. So a lot of late season Cowboys action we're going to be getting.
I mean, this is just, I guess, whatever, right? I mean, do we need 8 Cowboys games in Island games?
I mean, just look week 13 to 18. Thanksgiving, Thursday night, Sunday night, Christmas game. There are only 2 games in the last 6.
We can't escape them. Yeah, we can't. You can't even escape them over that last part of the season.
No.
Cowboys are in your face,
watch them
guys.
on all the holidays.
Sorry. If you hate the Cowboys, they're just in your face from week 13 on. It's happening.
Because the first one doesn't bother me. It's the season kickoff. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
sure.
Excited
Yeah,
to watch
yeah,
that.
exactly,
That's like, okay. The late season ones, it's like, all right, I don't really need that.
Yeah. Thanksgiving, Thursday night, Sunday night, 3 weeks in a row. Then we get a Chargers game and then a Christmas game. Holy mackerel. Cowboys all over our TV screens. All right, let's get to the Packers. This is a team, starts with two tough games here for this Packers team. That being said, they are at least both at home, Lions and Commanders for this Packers team to start out the year. That said, Mike, like we mentioned, both at home, and then you get a road game. If you're going to get a road game after two tough home games, how about it be at the Cleveland Browns? That's pretty good for you there as well. At the Cowboys, and then them also with one of these early buys in week number 5 coming out of that into a Cincinnati Bengals game. So Packers going to be tested early here with Lions and Commanders on their home turf at least. But boy, sure, if you're a Packers fan, you're a little jittery about that. Maybe you wanted to see one of those Browns or Cowboys names in one of the weeks 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to have one of those home games against a bad team just kind of get off on the right foot. That Lions game going to be a battle in week 1, as will that Commanders game, which is going to be on short prep time after playing a division opponent. So that's another one that you're kind of like, you got to take a peek at and wonder how you're going to play it there. This is a schedule that I think could get a lot tougher toward the end of it. I mean, you look at, like, let's say the Bears are good, Matt. Mm-hmm. The last 6 games, at Lions versus Bears, at Broncos, at Bears versus Ravens, at Vikings. I mean, this could be a very, very tough schedule. If anything, I'm looking at the under here for the Packers, and I may send myself a calendar invite for under after week 5, after they come out of their bye, where they take on take on the Bengals at home, and then they have to go to the Cardinals, go to the Steelers. If the Cardinals or Steelers are better than what I expect, and this is a team that's sitting there at 3-1 after the bye because they win both of those easier road games and split at home, I'm willing to fade this Packers team, Matt, because I also like the later bye for them, not the earlier bye with the injury issues they've had, specifically at the wide receiver position the last couple of years. It feels like a later bye could be a more beneficial one for this Packers organization. So this is a team which I'm probably fading once we get through the first few weeks of the season.
It's a very good point whenever you bring up this way that this end of the schedule comes out for the Packers. For those of you that are watching at home, you can see, and those of you that are on the radio right now, if the Bears are better like we think, if the Broncos are better like we think, we are pretty positive the Lions are going to be good and pretty positive the Ravens are going to be good. So then now we're starting here in week 13, Mike. At Lions, Bears at home, again, if the Bears are better, at Broncos, at Bears versus the Ravens. You could be looking at a stretch where if you're needing to win games to get into the playoffs or to get over this win total or whatever it might be, it really might be coming down to week 18 at the Vikings, because you, in theory, could lose 4 of those 5 games, and if the Bears are much better, you could lose all of them.
Yeah, I mean, and you go back to, week 10, right, where they're versus the Eagles, and then they have a layup at the Giants, but it is a road game, and then it's versus the Vikings in front of that run of those final 6 games as well. I mean, this is a pretty rough second half of the schedule for a team that had an early half of the schedule bye, right? Because they have that bye in week 4. They're going to play tough games from 10 to 18. That's very, very hard to do. We saw the Eagles fall apart with a tough schedule. Now, this all hinges on, are the Broncos better than we think? Are the Bears better than we think? But we should know that by week 5, which is when we want to bet against the Packers from and make the playoffs or a win season or win total perspective.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you split those first 2 home games, which you might could lose both of those. 1 win at the Browns, 2 wins at the Cowboys, 3 wins. Let's give them the Steelers. Let's give them the Panthers. Let's give them the Giants. Let's give them the Vikings. So you're heading into that stretch that we're talking about, needing to win 3 of those final week 13 to week 18 games to get to the 10. It could be tough if the Bears have taken a step forward. It could be tough to get to 10 wins.
It could be, and you're also giving them at Steelers, which I think is a little bit tougher game. Yeah. You're giving them versus the Vikings, which could be a tough game. By week 12, we might have a good version of J.J. McCarthy. So they're in my mind, there's other things that could go wrong here for this Packers team prior to that, and it's also a team that has struggled with injury, especially at the wide receiver position. Like, what are they going to look like if we have these same injury struggles here too? So I'm gonna, no pun intended, be bearish on this Packers team this year.
So the Vikings are an interesting case here because, Mike, I'm not going to say they're not handicapable, but I mean, we have no idea if J.J. McCarthy's any good or not. I mean, and he he will still be a rookie. He has at least been in the league, so he's been around the system. He's been around the players. He's, all of that, was on schedule to be the starter in week 1 for them and all of those different things. But, it's probably a team I'm going to have to fade until I get some sort of sample size here. I mean, like, if you're wondering, they're at the Bears, Falcons, Bengals, Steelers, Browns until they get a week 6 bye to start things off. Then a really, really rough stretch of Eagles, Chargers, Lions, Ravens from 7 to 10. I mean, that could be the end of their season by week 10, Mike, if J.J. McCarthy takes a while to adjust to the NFL, right? I mean, like, we could be looking at this Vikings team being dead by week 10.
Yeah, I think the week 6 bye is good for them. At least they have a bye before those 3 games. This is a team that has an advantageous schedule from the international perspective. Both the Steelers and Browns game are considered road games. So They play 2 neutral site games that would have been road games had they not been on neutral. So that's a positive. They also play 4 standalone games in the first 5 weeks, Matt. So we're going to get to see J.J. McCarthy in primetime right out of the gate in these standalone spots. You mentioned, like, I feel like this is almost an unhandicappable team because if J.J. McCarthy is good, the ceiling for this team is 13 wins. Yeah. If J.J. McCarthy is bad, the floor for this team is 5. It's just the bell curve is so wide because you don't know. And I love KOC from a head coaching perspective. I do think that he is one of the best people in the NFL to groom J.J. McCarthy. And we saw him do wonders with Sam Darnold last year. But I don't know. And because the outliers are so crazy here, if I believed or hated the Vikings, I'm playing alt lines from a win total perspective. I'm never playing 8.5. I'm playing over 10.5 or under 6.5. I'm never playing 8.5 because I just want a better plus money price for a team that I think has a very wide range of outcomes. And
it seems like the betting market, for whatever reason, likes this team. I mean, the under's plus 120. I mean,
yeah, but this is a team that won 14 games last year, Matt.
Yeah.
And the total is 8.5. I mean, it's a wild adjustment. There's not many teams that get adjusted down that drastically. And it's not like if you said, well, they're going from Sam Darnold to J.J. McCarthy. If you told me that at the beginning of last year, I'm not telling you that's a 6-game adjustment at quarterback, right? I mean, it's maybe a 2. So I understand why you're seeing the over money. But for me, I'd rather take alt overs. I'd rather bet he is very good than just bet he's average.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I look at the schedule, and like I said, I honestly think it goes one of 2 ways, right? They're kind of like surprising everybody, and they're in it, or by week 10 they're dead already. I mean, they're 2-8, and the season's dead. I mean, because it's a rough stretch there. So if it takes him a little while to get adjusted, and even if he gets adjusted, now you go into that stretch of games where you're going to be dogs on every single one of those games. You could be looking up at something like, well, I guess there's a bye in there, so wouldn't be 2-8. It'd be whatever 2-7 or 3-6 or something like that. I don't know. I will be interested to see how J.J. McCarthy fares whenever he does take over for this team that does have a lot of talent, and I do, like you, believe in the coaching staff for sure. Guys, if you have not done so already, VSiN Pro is out there. Usually it costs you $240 for 12 months. We are going to give you 14 months for $199. So yes, not only are we discounting everything, but you are going to get 2 free months as well. VSiN.com/subscribe, $199, 14 months. And with that, you get the best bets emailed to you every day. That betting splits page that we talked about already throughout the course of the show. Our VSiN Watch app is going to give you the video access to all of the shows, as well as the replays and the clips. You can take advantage of that. And then we put out betting guides for every single tentpole sporting event and season as they enter. And you want to have those as well to help you. VSiN.com/subscribe, $199 for 14 months.
You're tuned in to VSiN PrimeTime, schedule release special, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
VSiN PrimeTime, Matt Brown, Mike Somich. Every single week 1 game is up over at DraftKings. Johnny Vello said it wouldn't take much time for that to happen. They are all up over there. Bet away, my friends. Go to town. Get crazy. Get wild. Get weird. Just, understand injuries happen in training camp, all kinds of weird things happen. There's still a handful of free agents that are still out there to be signed. Where's Trey Hendrickson going to end up, or will the Bengals finally decide to pay him? Like, there's all kinds of stuff that can still change the landscape of these teams a little bit. Mike, we know the majority of the information, but we do not know it all.
No, we don't. I obviously the Aaron Rodgers of it all, a big domino there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You mentioned Trey Hendrickson. He matters a lot for a Bengals defense that is terrible when he's out there. So without him, they get even worse. They don't really have anything to replace him. So a couple, I'll call them smaller dominoes that are still yet to fall. But for the most part, I have a pretty good idea of what these teams are going to look like, assuming no major injuries in preseason.
All right, let's get to the NFC West, a division that you and I are maybe, I'm not going to say against everybody else out there, but I think that we are maybe at least a little bit on one side as to where most people still thinking San Francisco 49ers are the team to beat there, but we're looking elsewhere in all of that. Let's start with the Los Angeles Rams, and this is a team you and I have talked about here for the last month and a half. Like what they've done, like that Stafford came back. He still performs at a high level when he's healthy. Got a good coach, able to really get the maximization out of his players and all of that. I think this team is super, super interesting. They open up versus the Texans. We will see what this team is made of right out of the gate. Texans defense going to be really good this season yet again. So you get a home game against the Texans, on the road at the Titans, then on the road at the Eagles. Of course, we know West Coast team and the Los Angeles Rams. Do you stay? Do you go? How are you going to deal with all that travel information? But then get the Colts 49ers as well. Interesting 5 weeks that is really going to start, Mike, as us forming an opinion on this team right there in week number 1, where you go up against the Texans defense that is probably going to be one of the, at least 10 best in the league.
Yeah, I mean, two teams that I'm higher on than the market, and the Texans and the Los Angeles Rams face off in week 1. So that's when I will be definitely watching every single snap of at least once, if not 2 or 3 times during the week after it. Then this schedule does get a little bit easier if you go kind of through toward the back half of it. Like you've got Baltimore, you're at the Ravens week 6. Week 7, you're going to London, you're taking on the Jaguars. You get your bye week after that. So you're going to go directly from Baltimore over to London there. So you're going to get a little extra time to get acclimated toward the conditions or the time zone out there in London. But after the bye, there's a lot of winnable games on this schedule.
You are loving this schedule. When this came out, if you're a Rams fan, like, you are absolutely loving this thing starting week 9.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's phenomenal. You do get the Rams in week 5, and that's a Thursday night football game, so you get them at home on short rest. I don't hate that spot for them. But as you mentioned, like, after the Ravens game in week 6, and this is going to be another week 6 calendar invite for me, I want to know what the price is on this Rams team to win the division, because I think they could rip off
maybe win the NFC.
In their last 11, in their last 11, they could go 9-2.
Yeah,
like legitimately, like that good of a record here after they get past that Ravens game. So this is going to be another team where I want to see what happens early, but I like them late quite a bit.
I mean, guys, for those of you listening on the radio, Saints. So let's start. We're starting week 9. Home Saints at 49ers. Again, I'm a little bit down on the 49ers. Maybe the 49ers will be as good as expected. But anyway, at 49ers. Seahawks, that's a coin flip for sure. We don't know what we're going to get with the Seahawks team. Bucks, same deal. Sure, they're the best team in the division, but that doesn't say much. Panthers, at Cardinals. If you're going to go on the road, good job, Panthers, Cardinals. Lions, okay, tough one there in 15, but then Seahawks, Falcons, Cardinals to close things out. I mean, probably dogs against the Lions, though not much because it's a home game, Mike. Like, you might be favored in all but at the 49ers and maybe short dogs to the Lions. Like, you might be favored in 80% of those games down the stretch.
Yeah, a phenomenal late part of the schedule for them, especially after the bye here, where they can kind of reset after the London game. This is all systems go for this Rams team. Like, if you were a fan of the Rams, this was as good as what you could have hoped for from a scheduling perspective, especially with even the Titans game in week 2 and the Colts in week 4. Even if you lose to the Texans and Eagles, you're still most likely sitting there 2-2 through 4 weeks. So a lot of positives here for the Rams schedule.
Absolutely. Okay, let's look at the Seahawks team. That I'm not going to say unhandicappable, Mike. I don't think that that's the case at all. But what I will say is, you obvious downgrade at the quarterback position, in my opinion. Geno Smith at least has a super high floor. We know what you get in all of that. How this is going to play out with the Darnold experiment, we don't really know. We have a one-season sample size of good play. We have one season sample size of good play for a lot of different quarterbacks that never really put it together for a second year. So I don't have super high expectations, but am willing to change my opinion when I see it with my own eyes.
Well, the thing with the Darnold sample size, too, is with an elite offensive coach and 2 elite weapons on the outside. Now you have Jackson Smith and Jigba here, but Lockett's not what he was. You traded away DK Metcalf, so you don't have nearly as good a wide receiver unit. The offensive line is still a question mark for the Seattle Seahawks team. I think the defense is better second year under Mike McDonald, but a lot of question marks as to what this team is actually going to look like. We're seeing a ton of money on the under 8.5. That's already juiced down to minus 140 from a season-long win total. And you look at this schedule, and I mean, nothing jumps out at me as a very hard or very easy stretch. It just kind of feels like an even schedule. But when you have an even schedule and a team that you don't feel overly confident in, it's very hard to get to the window.
Yeah, it's a middling as far as like the win totals here on the teams that they're playing. We expect the Saints to be bad. We expect the Titans to be bad. So you get those on the schedule. That's got to feel pretty good. Don't really know exactly what we're going to get from the Steelers because we don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for them. So maybe that game is much more appealing there in week 2 that's on the road for them. Colts are another one of those teams, Mike, that's just super weird. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But, are they going to be good? Are they going to be bad? Whatever. I mean, so there are definitely winnable games here on the schedule for the Seahawks. But there are also some that if the Seahawks team is more middling than on the upper side of middling, then those games become like losable. At the Falcons becomes like, oh, that's not a good game anymore, right? At the Panthers maybe is not a good game anymore for them. Like, so I think that there are some of these where you look and go, okay, depending on how this team performs on the field, some of these games might not actually be, okay, circle those as wins.
Yeah, and you've got 2 times your back-to-back road games. Once in the middle of the season, you're at Rams, then at Titans. So you get at Titans in the second one, but that becomes a little trickier of a spot because it is the second game in a back-to-back road games. And you end the season at Panthers, at Niners. We don't know what to expect from that Panthers team by that point, but then having to go on the road in a division rival, a team that you've struggled against, not a great way to end your season here.
I'm just not, I don't know. I'm not in love with this team. Cardinals is a team, though, that I think that we are a little bit higher on maybe than everybody else out there. I like the makeup of this team. I'm willing to be let down. The market has us sitting at 8.5, Mike. They don't know what to do with it. It's even money in minus 120 on the over and the under. They are 8-9 last year. I totally get it. But boy, you could come out of the gate hot here. You get Saints, Panthers, Niners, Seahawks, Titans, Colts, 1 through 6. You could run pure and be 6-0. You could just be good and be 5-1. Let's call it a loss at the 49ers right there. This is a super, super great opening to a season for an over on an 8.5 total.
Yeah, it really is. And this might be a team that you target over and then you come back with the in-season under because it does get difficult. Those last 6 weeks, you're at the Bucs versus the Rams, at the Texans versus the Falcons, at the Bengals, at the Rams. So 4 of the last 6 on the road and against teams that I think all have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs as well. So that end of the schedule here, much more difficult for the Cardinals. So this is one where if you like the over, I don't mind betting the over before the season starts. If you're sitting at 6-0 or 5-1, you come back in on the season under on the win total, and you try and middle it because that back half of the season is much more difficult.
Yeah, it's a dream open, and certainly, this Cardinals team, if they play to that upper tier, like you think, and they might take a step forward. Sure, some of those games on the back end might not be as daunting, but if it's the same old Cardinals as last year, they could still start 5-1, Mike, and then lose every single one of those games down the stretch.
Well, you get good Kyler early too, right? So you get the healthiest version of Kyler Murray the entire season right out of the gate, which should help them with that. Then you kind of worry, like, is he going to be 100% right and scrambling like we want him to week 13, 14, 15? It's much more of a concern there. That's when the tougher games are. We're
not talking the Preakness tonight, but there will be tons of Preakness talk here on the network between now and Saturday. And you want to go ahead and sign up over at First Bet to make sure that you can get the bets in from Mike and company. See if we can't get another winner in here at the second of the Triple Crown races. This is promo code VSiN200 over at firstbet.com. That is 1stbet.com. When you do, you can get up to a $200 sign-up bonus by using that VSiN200 code. The cool thing about this, not only can you bet horse tracks around the world, you can watch the races right there in the app as well. It's firstbet.com, 1stbet.com, promo code VSiN200.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.